So in this video, let's talk about eBay. Now, I used to be a power seller. I'm going to tell you guys because a lot of sellers are going to get angry right now. And this is going to be a heated 50-50. I'm going to tell you right now, I know in the comments, it's going to be 50-50. All right, so here's the story. I scour eBay. I'm on a budget and I love antiques. And I scour eBay every single day because I'm disabled and can't leave the house. So my flea market is eBay. I can't go out to estate sales and whatnot. So I spied with my little eye this, and I scour over at least on average 30 to 50,000 listings a day looking for that diamond in the rough. And what do I mean by diamond in the rough? A sleeper. A sleeper is something the seller doesn't know its value. And I noticed that for the most part, about 70% of sellers know what they have. They do their due diligence. They check the research. Even if they don't know what the item is, they actually spend time researching it. Now, for that other 30%, that's where I get lucky. And it's not very often. For my videos of all my sleepers, you might think I might get really lucky quite often, but I don't. And so it's a lot of hard work. Sometimes at least 12 hours a day searching for that one item. All right, so to make a long story longer, I spied my little eye this. It was just listed, $58. And I was like, oh my God. And I hit the trigger, the buy it now button, $58. And now I don't want you guys to contact the seller. It's not nice. And so that's why I blurred out some stuff. But $58, I went into the cart, and then boom, it's like, this item is no longer available. And I was like, son of a bee, whatever, right? Not everybody wins. I don't have sour grapes. And so I usually just move on and I look for the next sleeper. And so I was thinking though, and I'll tell you why I did what I did. And a lot of you are going to say, that was really underhanded. Okay, I'm going to give you an example. For the month of January, we're in February now, 5 sellers canceled listings on me that I bought and paid for. Now, I was doing the happy dance when I saw that I got the sleeper for a really good deal. And then all of a sudden, I get it in my inbox on eBay. Oh, I refunded your money because the item, I can't find it. I call bull hinky because it happened 5 times in 1 month alone. Now, for the month of January, that was 5 times. In the month of December, 8 times. I got 8 cancellations and refunds. And all of a sudden, every excuse was, I can't find the item. Why do you think that happened, boys and girls? Because somebody else, like I just did, went to go do the buy it now and found out that somebody else bought it and they got sour grapes, got angry, contacted the seller, and I can tell you right now, they offered much more than I did. And how do I know? Because I would follow the darn seller and see if they would relist it. And I would check up to 3 to 4 to 5 months, just keep every day going into their other items listed. Nope, the item disappeared from the face of the earth. So this time around, a little bit of mean girl got into me. And I'm going to be honest, am I nice all the time? No. But I contacted the seller not to underhandedly take this piece away from somebody else, but I did a psychological psyops. And I said, if the buyer does not pay for this item, I just would like you to know I would be willing to offer you $75 for this item. I knew damn well that wasn't going to happen, but I did it just so the seller would think to themselves, what's going on here? What is going on here? Now, by the way, at the time of this happening, I noticed the seller had a 98 percentile feedback. That is not good in eBay land. You might think that's a great score. If I got a 98 on an algebra or trigonometry test, I'm winning. No, on eBay, that means you're not very good. It's actually 99.7 or less, and you're shiz as a seller. Now, I sold hundreds and hundreds of items on eBay when I was a power seller back in the 90s, like 99, 2000, around there, up until about 2009, never got one negative feedback. And because I keep my buyers happy. And it actually happened to me. I had a rare piece, a rare gallet, French sculpture that I did not know it was a gallet, and I sold it for $250. And then after I sold it and shipped it out, before I shipped it out, I found out that the rare gallet, it was a dog sculpture with glass eyes, very, very rare, about $8,000 rare. Guess what I did? I shipped it out to my buyer. Why? Because it's not the buyer's fault. It's not the buyer's fault I didn't do my due diligence. You follow? All right, so the story is getting longer. So the seller, of course, never replied, which I didn't expect them to. And then this happened. It was relisted immediately. and it was relisted for $495. And I was like, yep. The seller immediately probably realized what is going on here. I list an item, it sells instantly, and then somebody else is inquiring about it. Well, they must have had an acid tester kit and found out it was 14 karat gold. How did I know it was 14 karat gold? I'm not an expert, but I've been collecting for long enough. I could tell from the edges of the bezel that is real gold. A lot of these Victorian pieces, and this piece was made between 1860, 1890 maybe, most likely 1860s, 1870s. I knew a lot of the gold was not marked back then. And so the seller must have did an acid test real quick, or took it to their jeweler, relisted it, and then this happened. Yeah, the seller's 98 point something feedback went down to 96.4. Now I'm blotting out everything. You don't need to contact the seller. It's not, let's just not do that. Let's not go there. No, I got a little petty, not gonna lie. I was in the mean girl clique for that moment. But the seller got a red donut. Why? Because the buyer got really pissed off. By the way, I will tell you something right now. This buyer is savvy. With 1,764 feedbacks, this buyer knows exactly the time of day. They knew what this piece was worth. And so they got screwed like I always get screwed. And they wrote, after I paid for the item, the seller canceled the order and refunded. Very unprofessional and disappointing transaction. I bet you the buyer is actually crying, because I know I would, because I know I cried these past several months when it was done to me multiple times. In the past 6 months, it's been done to me at least 25 times. And you might say, well, if you hate it being done to you, then why did you do it? Why did you make the seller's spidey sense tingle? Well, because you know what? I don't know. I was just in one of those moods today. I don't generally even do this. I probably only done it one other time. And yeah. And honestly, it was mean-spirited, but I don't know. I was just in that type of mood. I got a visit from my Aunt Flo today. Let's just put it that way. And I don't mean to be gross, but yeah. So I'm in that sort of mood. You know what I mean? And so what do you think? I want to know in the comments. And I bet you $1 billion. I'll bet you my next sleeper that 50 of you will be like, good for that seller. They don't have to sell that. It's their item. If they want to relist it for 495 doll hairs, they can do that. But I will tell you one thing. As an ex-power seller, I stopped selling on eBay. I can tell you the seller can get in a lot of trouble for this. If the seller calls up and says, to the customer service rep, I just paid for this item. I paid 58 doll hairs for it. And now the seller went and relisted it for $495. Either one of two things will happen. eBay will actually, do some kind of thing where they possibly even remove the seller from eBay's platform, or at least put it in the records. And if it happens 2 more times, the seller is 86th. And in New York talk, that means they're gone. They're finito. That's it. You're not going to sell on eBay anymore. So a lot of other people now are going to, by the way, that's not in the TOS or the terms of service. If you sell something, it's a binding contract.
To the people siding with the seller, asterisk, that is legally and contractually incorrect. Once a seller lists an item and a buyer pays, a binding contract is formed. In the eyes of the law and eBay's terms of service, the item effectively belongs to the buyer at that moment. It's my item stops being a valid excuse the second you accept someone else's money for it. Here is why that do what they want logic fails. Contractual obligation. You cannot unilaterally cancel a legal agreement just because you realized you could have made a better deal. That is a breach of contract. Platform integrity. If sellers were allowed to cancel every time they saw a higher price, the marketplace would collapse because buyers would never trust a sold price again. eBay policy. eBay explicitly forbids seller remorse. Sellers are expected to do their research before the sale, not after taking a buyer's funds. Liking the seller's choice doesn't make it right. It's a shady business practice that leads to account bans and permanent strikes. When a buyer reports a seller for this, eBay issues a permanent defect on the seller's account for seller non-performance. Here is how it hits them. Higher fees. Their selling fees can jump by 4% to 6% on every single item they sell. Search ban. Their listings get buried at the bottom of search results where no one can see them. Permanent ban. It only takes about 3 or 4 defects for eBay to permanently suspend the account and ban them from the site forever. Lying about a cancellation is the fastest way to lose a business.
Now, are you going to go to small claims court over this? Now, eBay doesn't hold the gavel. You know what I mean? They're not the judge and jury. They can sanction the seller. But are you going to go to small claims court over the seller not honoring this $58 transaction that they raised it to $495? I can guarantee you, maybe 1% of the population is even more petty than I was today. But no. For the most part, no. The seller, it's their right. It is their object. They can do whatever they want with it. But there's repercussions. So now 50% of you will say, you bastard. You bastardo. What you did was sort of shizzy. But no, it wasn't. I just felt like doing it. But I will tell you, I'm not an expert, but it is not my problem that the seller did not do their due diligence and research their product properly. If I got that for $58, right? And it was worth $495 hairs, not my problem. And you might say, that's really nasty of you. You should tell the seller when they undervalue their item on eBay that their price is too low. Are you going to go into the Piggly Wiggly supermarket and buy a dozen eggs and say they're 99 cents that day, but they're usually $5? Are you going to go up to the grocer or the manager and say, hey, the eggs are usually $5. You must have mispriced it because I pay $5 usually, and today it says 99 cents. No. So any of you who are bashing me or going to bash me, let's think about this logically. It is not my issue to go around the 50,000 listings I scour through to inform every single one of the eBayers that are undervaluing their items that they're undervaluing it. You can pay me for that because that expertise took over 25 years for me to gain. So there you go. All right. So in the comments below, do you think who's wrong here? I think honestly, as an ex-seller, I'm not even going to side with the seller here. I actually feel bad for that person. I do. The buyer. I feel bad for the buyer. That was a contract that they got, went in. They paid for the item fair and square. And yeah, I'm going to side with the buyer on this one, but let's see what you say in the comments below. And try not, be nice, be kind. Let's be civil here. No arguments, no screaming, no yelling, no going Karen. Let's be kind in the comments. But I'm curious to know what you guys think.